From One of One Production Studio, located in Fort Lee, New Jersey, this is The Art of Music Tech. And now, here's your host, Fela and Dennis.
Let's go, and welcome to the Art of Music Tech podcast. I'm here, of course, with Dennis, co-host.
Hey, guys.
And we're at the new studio, One of One Studio, and with our first guest on our podcast.
What?
In the new studio.
We
have Patrick Smith. You may not know his name, but you've definitely heard his work.
For years.
Yes, American Idol, Jay Leno, Harry Connick Jr. show, just amazing broadcast engineer and everything engineer. I just found out he came into it in jazz as well.
Absolutely.
So, yes, welcome to the show, Patrick.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
What a wonderful facility you have here.
Oh,
thank
you, Patrick. Means a lot coming from you.
You're so
You've
welcome.
seen some
You're so
rooms.
welcome. I mean, walk into the room and it had a nice, cool vibe.
Thank you.
You know, a nice, workable vibe. You know, a place that you can work here for hours and relax and be cool and you get a lot of things done. So,
Okay.
Exactly.
Great.
space.
Thank you.
That's the
Thank
most
you.
important thing about studio spaces. People don't realize that. It's not always just the equipment, it's the vibe.
Yeah.
The vibe.
Can I come to this place and relax and be myself? You know, take my shoes off and take a nap on the couch and order some food.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now I can get into a workspace. I can work, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool. It's like working at it's like it's part of your home. It's an extension of your home. 'Cause
Exactly.
You spend
Indeed.
so much time in studios, you know. That's what it is. It's your second home for a lot of us.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
It is
So-
ours.
so true.
If we're working on those endless projects. You know.
Definitely have taken naps on some couches here.
Absolutely.
On the couch here.
Uh-huh.
So I want to get your background, Patrick. Where are you from?
I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
All right.
East Tennessee, or Knox Vegas, as I call it.
Knox Vegas.
I haven't been to Knoxville. I had to visit there. So how did you get into audio, and was that through your parents, or what did they do?
Well, my mother's a social worker. My father was a teacher and also a coach. So growing up, you know, especially in Tennessee, you have, the culture is around marching bands. So very early on, I fell in love with music through marching bands. You know, so I played in marching bands. I played in, high school. I actually was the drum major for 2 years.
Oh.
So, and then we also used to throw parties. And, and throwing parties in the South is not like, like kids throw parties today. You can go out and buy a package. Back then, you borrow somebody's receiver, you go borrow your friend's speakers, you get a turntable from here. Or I got a cassette deck, or I got a boombox. So you have this system that you could have Frankenstein together.
The ultimate mixtape.
To throw parties. Absolutely. Because nobody really had enough to get together a whole system to throw a party.
Yeah.
Because you had to have your primary amplifier, then you had a couple of backup amplifiers, and then you had to have fans on them. This is so old school because they were shut down because
overheating.
they were consumer amps, not professional amplifiers. So about midway through the party, you hear that click, click. Boom! Shut down, thermal overload. So now you got to put the fan on it. The people like staying by the table, but we got smart. We had backups. And we couldn't play it as loud, but we had backups. So we used to throw parties, and I used to always read stereo magazines, and not knowing that there was a career in this. I just loved the technology.
Yeah.
I was just fascinated with listening to good stereo and great recordings and everything.
Okay, same here.
So, and I was always spending my extra money going to get like a stereo review, stereo magazines. I think it was Hi-Fi Review or stuff like that, like the early magazines, early stereo files, that sort of thing, and just reading the reviews.
Yeah.
And that got me up on the terminology and the things that we use to describe the music. And then I would go listen to the music to see if I heard what the reviewer heard.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then I got like got a little money to go to Berklee College of Music. I played trombone, so I got a little money to go to Berklee College of Music.
You played trombone too. I played trombone,
Get out of here.
6th until I graduated from high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I just own a trombone. I don't play it. I just own one
You
now.
own one?
Yeah, right.
You still do? You still have one?
Right. Nah, it's
Same
not.
here. The chops are so far gone.
I keep threatening to come back.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but so I went to Berklee
Yeah, right.
College of Music, and then And I really was not quite sure what I was going to do, going to education, and they had just really got the program, their music production engineering program off the ground like the year before. So
okay, what year is this?
This would have been 84, somewhere around 84.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yeah. So one day I'm standing in the hallway. I'm looking at the wall. They have like a little bulletin board wall. So it's thing about the music production and engineering program. So I read the course description and I go, oh my God, this is what I was born to do. It's like, I was like, oh my God, I felt so good. I felt so relieved because I'm like, finally, I have something I can do in my life. This is perfect. I love technology. I love music. I love stereos. I love this. So I'm like, this is perfect. And then right about that time, Berklee Marsalis comes walking up to the thing at the same time. Say, hey, bro, what's happening? I go, hey, what's up? He goes, hey, man, you going to get in the production program? And I go, yeah, I just read it. Yeah, I'm going to definitely get into it. He goes, well, that's cool. He said, cause I want to be a producer. I said, what? I want to be an engineer. He said, I have no interest in the technology. He said, tell you what, I produce and you're an engineer. And I said, cool. So we shook hands. So some 70 records later, maybe.
Wow.
From that point on, we were tied together.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what it would lead to down the road, but our destinies were connected from that point on.
Wow.
Yeah. So as he got his production projects in school, I would always engineer them, and vice versa or whatever. So I got into the program and met some great people in the program. It was a lot of great people, in the program. A lot of old school engineers. We had engineers from the old days at RCA. We had maintenance guys. And you learned the basics. I mean, the earlier classes were just like, okay, 2 microphones. You have to go in and record something with only 2 microphones. We started out with 2 tracks. Then you worked your way up to 8 tracks. And then like 24, that was like, 24 tracks. Oh my God.
Now we're talking.
So you learn the basics first.
Wait, did you have to buy a 2-track?
No. It was like, they had studios in the school. They had, I think, 4 studios.
So was it portable or?
No. They had actually studios, control rooms.
Okay.
So you would have to record like a wind ensemble with 2 microphones. Record like a band with 2 microphones.
That's
How would you approach that? And then like the early stuff, we were not allowed to use the multi-track. We had to do it old school, like a 4-track. Mm-hmm. So you had to make your mind up, okay, I need to put the bass, the drums, and guitar on this track.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or maybe if I do something, I have to bounce it down. So so the same decisions that those guys had to make when they were doing the early records at Atlantic and Motown and stuff, you had to make those same decisions, and it helped you.
And not to waste tape.
Absolutely, it was all analog tape. So you had a editing lab. We had to cut tape. We had to learn how to cut the tape, to mark the tape, to do the edits and all that stuff. So it was amazing.
There was no copy paste back then.
No Command Z, baby.
No undo.
Yeah, right. So when you punched on the track, that was it. There was no coming back from that. I mean, a lot of us, if you're old enough to remember, a few times you've messed up punches.
Oh yeah.
If you're an honest engineer, you would admit to that. You would say, yeah, I erased the trumpet solo on something one time. I got lost in the song and I punched in the wrong spot. And it's like, did you just punch over that? It's like, yeah. That's crazy. So just learning that whole thing at Berklee was great. And then that's when Delfield started actually getting, we started getting professional projects to do. Like we started out Branford, and then Donald Harrison and Terrence Blanchard's projects and stuff like that. And we were still in school at the time. This was really cool. Wow. Now, this is what we would do. We would, for instance, like on Fridays, they would give us free studio time, like an hour or so. So you can go in and do whatever you wanted to do, work on things, just to get your hands on the console, just to get immersed in the technology and all that good stuff. So I would make up a name before my name, say 12 noon. And then 11 a.m., I would just make up a name. And then after, I would make up a name. It could be anybody's name. It could be a Japanese name, then my name, and then and then another some just weird name. A name that would be hard to pronounce, but say, okay. So one day the guy comes in, I'm in there earlier, and for instance, I would put like Hideki Yamashiro. So, hey, Hideki should be in here. I said, no, Hideki came by earlier, and he said that he didn't need the time, so I was able to come in early. I was just standing in the hallway. And then after he would come in and go, hey, where's Skip Jackson? I go, Skip came by, and he said he has some more stuff to do, or so he said I can just stay in the room so this went on for a while. So after a while, one of the older studio supervisors says, you know what? I'm going to go to the books and see who's registered. I'm going to look these names up. So he looks at the names. He goes, all right. He comes in the room. Well, it's funny. Now, right before that, he goes, now, wait a minute. What are you guys working on in here? This sounds like professional stuff. No, we're just playing around with some old tapes and it's editing and stuff, blah, blah, blah. So then he comes in and, he goes, wait a minute. These names don't exist. There's no Hideki. There's no Skip here. You guys are still in studio time. All right, get out. What are you guys working on anyway? Nothing. And there's a stack of RCA tapes, Columbia record tapes in the corner. So he's like, all right, that's it. Get out the studio. But they still tell that story at the school to today. Wow. Because the thing is, we wanted to be in the studio so bad.
Exactly.
We would do anything to stay in the studio.
In the studio.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So that was funny. So we started there, and I remember going into the last week of my graduation at Berklee, I was working on records. So what we would do was there was a studio down the street called Mission Control, and this is when SSL consoles first started popping up in America, and they were expensive, and very few studios had them. But there was a studio in the city in Boston that had one because Delphio went to Jamaica to mix part of Royal Garden Blues, Branford's second solo record on Columbia. So he comes back and goes, man, SSL is the bomb. You gotta see this console, man. It's computer controlled, it's automation, it controls the machines. Hey man, you gotta go, because Delphio always was go see something to come back and go, you need to go learn this, or you need to go figure out how this works. I go, okay. So back then, you just get a magazine or whatever, and you get a directory in the Mix magazines. This is why Mix magazine was so invaluable back then, because it was a great resource.
Exactly.
It was like, okay, all the studios with SSLs in them, so you just go back, flip, okay, in Boston, you look it up. Oh, Mission Control. It's right down on Boylston Street, I think. It's not too far away from Berklee. So I called up the studio one day, and I said, hey, and Delphio was like, okay, when we mix Branford's next record, which was Renaissance, we need to mix this on an SSL, and I want to mix this on an SSL. So we were like, okay. So I find the studio with the SSL in it, and I go down the street and everything. And as a guy there that owned it, I had no idea it was a black guy. Michael Johnson from the Johnson Crew, who was the brother of Maurice Starr, who discovered New Kids on the Block and New Edition. So he had taken his money and bought an SSL.
Damn.
So it was in town, so the studio was constantly booked. So he was a nice guy, and he said, "Oh, where are you from? You have manners. So where are you from?" So I said, "I'm from the South," and we started talking about the South, so we knew some common people. So I was like, "That's crazy." And I said, "I remember you coming to our town and being interviewed on the radio," because he claimed he could play like 125 instruments or something like that.
Jesus!
So what is that? Cowbell, bass cowbell. Piccolo cow. So how many? You can add up the instruments all day long. So I used to always tease him about that. So he said, okay, this is the deal. I'll give you the studio for $50 an hour, but you have to start at midnight because you can't disturb any of my high-paying clients in the daytime. So me and Delphio were like, okay, cool. We were young. So we would go down, start at midnight, work to 7 in the morning, come back to school, go to class. So we started doing this, and oh my God, we were tired. So this spilled into I think we were doing Crystal Stair for Donald Harrison and Terrence Blanchard. I think it was.
In school, people.
Yeah, I know. What a fantastic blessing that was.
Wow.
That was a superb blessing. That was just amazing.
Nice.
Just the luck of the draw. But had to, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So we go into that last week, and it was exhausted. We're falling asleep in class. I went by Delphio's class just to check on him one day. I think it was like a 3-hour workshop class. He shows up an hour late and slept for 2 hours. So the teacher was pissed. So the teacher had no idea what we were doing because we didn't tell anybody we were working on a record at the time. Yeah. And so I slept through my entire graduation.
Why couldn't you say anything?
Well, because then you guys don't need to be in class. You guys don't need to be here. You guys are working on records, and so it just changes the vibe and everything. So we were just having fun.
Yeah,
just doing the records.
Okay,
but we weren't trying to brag about it. Oh, we're doing the records and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
we were like, no, we just keep it on the DL.
Wow.
Well, in this age of social media, oh my God, I mean,
you'd have all over
Instagram
selfies.
Yeah, I know. Hashtag SSL, baby. I know.
It's hard out here.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. But no, we were just trying to be humble and struggle with, mixing records.
Wow.
So we started.
That's cutting your teeth. So with learning the SSL, did you just get there? You just kind of hopped off of the house engineer, just kind of, he set it up and you kind of.
No, actually not. It was your studio back then. In the studios, you walk into the studio and it's your room. You had an assistant that would set it up.
Yeah,
and then the way it was with Michael's studio, he was like, the room is yours from midnight to 7. So if you didn't know how to do something, you better figure it out in a hurry. And we figured out a lot of good stuff.
But you still got to pay, though, $50 an hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
You still got to pay.
Yeah, back in that day, that's a little chunk of change.
Well, the record company was paying for that. So, right. And it was a bargain in them because back then studios were like 160, 180, 190. Yeah, that's when studios reigned supreme. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wait, did you have to pay for tape? Or they provided the tape?
It was already... Well, we would buy tape and everything, but tape was cheap then.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, because tape was in such abundance then.
Okay.
Well, that was all you could use then.
This is way pre-Pro Tools.
Yeah, because tape is expensive now.
Now, oh my God.
The roll is like $120, $100.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and it doesn't sound as good either. I know they bought up all the formulations, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But it does not sound right. I just went through a whole thing where it's just trying to get tape to sound the way I think it should sound, and it just didn't sound right. I think what's happening is like most things, like most technology they're trying to revive, they're trying to hold on to an idea that what it is. Like tape, or should be warm and, fat sounding, but it actually comes off sounding muffled. A lot of times.
Yeah.
You have to, they set the machines up in a way that it's always warm. So the bass is tilted and the trebles rolled off. So it's just like, I want a neutral machine so I can do what I want to do with it. If I chose to, if it's neutral and it comes back the same, then that's cool. Now, if I choose to alter that sound, I know what to do. Then I'll say, hey, let's play with the bias a little. Let's play with the low EQ some, or let's push it to tape to get it saturated. Get a little more saturation. So now it kind of sits on the tape a little fatter. But I want to make that decision. Don't make it for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So then we go through Berklee and then, let me back up. The first thing I mixed was on Royal Garden Blues. It was like a few songs on Royal Garden Blues. It would happen over the summer. We were home from break, right? And this is pre-internet. This is pre-cell phone. So, only way you can get in touch with someone is either call them or write them a letter.
Yeah.
So one day the phone rings and it's Delphio. It's like, whoa. And it's like, man, people just think, because phone calls were expensive then. Long distance calls were expensive. So that's how old I am. I'm so old that I worked in the era where long distance phone calls were not free. So my mother goes, hey, your buddy from college is on the phone. Delphio's on the phone. So I go, Delphio, this is weird. Why is he calling me? So I walk in to the to the house, pick up the phone. Hey, man, are you ready? I go, what are you talking about? Am I ready? I'm ready for what? Are you ready to do a record? I go, oh, yeah. He said, don't just say yeah. I said, well, what is it for? He said, for Branford's record. And it was for like the week of July 4th. And July 4th, all the engineers were on break or nobody wanted to work.
Cooking,
at that
barbecuing.
Time. So they're hanging out. I had this thing planned. So
my girl
he exhausted his list of go-to engineers. So Branford goes, oh, what about your boy? Call him up. And Delphio goes, okay. So he calls me up. Then Then I go up to Boston, and then we mix some of the record. And I remember Branford calling me up before, going, "Hey man, don't mess my record up, bro. I got a lot of confidence in you." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." But that was a terrifying experience.
Wow.
You know, I mean, because you study this technology at school, and you had the luxury of sitting in a room by yourself and playing with the console, pretending to be an engineer. But now you have to really be an engineer.
Deliver.
And it was scary.
It's
Yeah, it was that. But once you get shake off the initial whatever butterflies or whatever, get into it. Now it's like, okay, now I can mix this now. Now I can get into it. But it's just terrifying. But that's good though. It's a good terrifying.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, you should be scared of some things like that. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I mean, so you're through school now. So in school, how many albums did you mix on by the time you graduated?
I think we must have did like 3 or 4 records by the time we got out of school.
For the same label?
Yeah, it was also
So what was the label?
Columbia. It was
Columbia. Oh, Columbia. Okay.
Yeah, we recorded at RCA Studios.
Oh.
And then after that, maybe a little while after that, I got my first recording. Yeah, because before then I was always mixing.
Yeah.
And we mixed a bunch of records. We mixed Courtney Pine's record. We mixed from the great saxophonist from London, Courtney Pine. We mixed more Branford stuff. We mixed a few things for Wynton. So I was always mixing at that point. And then it's like when Marcus Roberts was signed to RCA Novus, that label. He hired Delphio to produce it. So Delphio said, "Hey, are you ready to record?" I go, "Yeah, I'm ready to record. Yeah, I'm tired of mixing all these other people's stuff. Blah, blah, blah. I don't like the way they record it anyway. So now I get the chance to do it the way I want to do it." It's like, why did I say that? So we go to first, just calling up RCA Studios, the book Studio A. That was terrifying enough. Just like, "Hello, I would like to book Studio A." "What was this? You know how much this room costs?" "Well, okay. I'm calling for Delphio Marsalis to book for." "Oh, okay. Why did you say so?" And then it's like, okay. Then we book the session. Then we show up, and then it's Marcus Roberts, Reginald Veal, Elvin Jones on drums.
Wow.
And that was my first recording. And then Wynton is coming in later to play trumpet, and Charlie Rouse is playing saxophone. That's my first recording.
Wow.
You talk about scared. You talk about anxiety attack. I almost blacked out in the control room.
Really?
Yeah, it was that scary, because...
Were you nervous or excited?
I was nervous, excited.
Okay.
Didn't know what was going to happen. This young kid in RC. I mean, you're like 21 years old. You're standing in RCA Studio A. And all the other engineers just came by to go, "Who is this kid?" And... well, what is he about to mess up now? But it's like, okay. So, you have every single person. They were their own entity. They were their own solar system, basically. Elvin Jones, oh my God. Charlie Rouse, Wynton, Reginald Veal. I mean, these guys are amazing musicians. And, so it's like, okay, well, at the end of the day, you have to get it done. So let's get it done. So, place on the microphones. Setting the gains, and that's so tough. That's one of the hardest things for young engineering to do when you're doing recording is to properly gain stage.
Yes.
Yes.
Just to have proper gains.
The easiest.
Yeah, that is hard.
Yeah.
You can get upside down in your game, and then it's so funny. Like you like my early sessions. Like I have way too much mic pre-gain. Hit the tape hard, and I'm trying not to clip the mix bus. So I'm pulling the faders down. So the faders are like an inch away from the bottom, but everything's great. I was like, oh my God, but you're so scared. You don't want to turn anything down. It's like, what do I do now? You're just like, you're just holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
Please don't play any louder. Please don't play any louder. But so over the years, you learn how to do that. And I got lucky on that with every instrument except the trumpet. Wynton comes in, and I saw this. This is a 251 replica. It looks like the case of a 251 at least.
Yeah.
Or it could be a C12. I don't know. But 251. Oh, I'll use a 251 on the trumpet and a U67 on the trumpet. Little did I know that, coming out of the trumpet, being a horn player, I should have known. But it's a lot of air coming, and the trumpet is more focused. And before it has a chance to dissipate, you need some distance. Wynton the first song was great. He played harmon mute on it. Right up on the microphone. I'm like, God, it sounded glorious at 251. Oh my God, it was rich harmonics and just great. I'm like, I'm dialed in, man. He takes that mute out to play a blues. So I was like, okay, I got to turn the gain down. So I turned it down some, and it's just distortion. It's just, it's just like, and I don't know what to do because I'm young and I'm too scared to say stop, move the mics back, or change the angle of the microphone. So just try a different microphone altogether. So I'm sitting there just riding out that storm of distortion. I'm just riding it out like, okay. And I'm just sitting there going, what am I going to do?
Wow. If every engineer has done that. So that's so.
It happens all the time.
That's so good to hear. To hear an engineer admit it. But that's, you've been like, oh, snap. What do I do? Yeah. You're like, do I really need to? Yeah. Especially in the live game when you're having to deal with monitors in front of the house at the same time. And you have something that the gain is insane, but they're on in-ears. If you go down just like 3 dB, they're like, where did my thing go? Yeah, they're gonna freak out. You're like, oh my God.
So you're stuck with that.
Yeah, you're like,
yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
So I go, well, you get lucky or unlucky. I was lucky for 99% of it, but that 1% just like, and it was just like, oh my God. So then we mix it, record comes out, and then Wynton was there, and he was like, hey, man, I may ask you guys to record some stuff at the time. I mean, because Wynton was the holy grail of recording because he had, because... And Tim Geelan, I have to give a shout out to Tim Geelan, who was Wynton and Steve Epstein. Steve Epstein was the producer, and Tim Geelan was the engineer. And Tim Geelan was a staff guy at CBS, and he was so gracious and so nice to me. Whenever I asked him a question, he allowed me to come and sit in sessions and just take notes and steal all the stuff. So the basis of all that stuff, which actually is rooted in classical music, how it's organized, how it's recorded, the microphone selections and all that stuff, it's all rooted in classical music. So it evolved to suit jazz because jazz is different because it's more bombastic. It's, the dynamic range is crazy and just it's different applications. But the uses of higher quality microphones throughout the entire chain and later on higher converters and different recorders and all that stuff just all evolved from that. So I was able to steal a lot of that stuff and make it my own as things evolve. It's always good to have a reference or somebody to lean on.
Exactly.
And these guys were the reference. Yeah. They were the reference.
Instead of saying, use your ears.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
You do need to see it in action and how they use it, and it's always
the reason.
Absolutely
develop in a different way,
right? Absolutely.
With you in
now, like anything else, it's like a jazz musician, and it's like, okay, you don't want to learn too many solos from Hank Mobley or John Coltrane or Sonny Rollins because you're gonna sound like them. No, you won't. Because your personality will automatically filter that out and take out what you don't want and change this and evolve. So over the years, it will evolve and you'll become your own.
Exactly.
So it's good to take someone's technique,
technique is important.
Especially to learn the fundamentals of it. Learn why, the hows and the whys. Yes. Why do you make up the snare drum like that? Why do you have that angle right there? Why do you not have it like this? Why you do this? So and over the years, just by incorporating other technologies, like I was really into consumer audio. I keep jumping around, but I was really into consumer audio at one point, which is the end result of all that work we do.
Yeah.
Now they're using $10,000 microphone. I mean, $10,000 speaker cables and $100,000 systems and all this stuff. I'm like, but why? Because in the studio we had this crappy, $10 cable hooked up to the trumpet. It's like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I had an appreciation in what they were trying to do. They were trying to recreate that magic moment that happened in the studio. But the technology that they use in the studio a lot of times, it's just not that high end. Because it was a system, it was a workflow. It was like a factory. You know what I'm saying? It's like go down there and get a box of cables and come up here and plug them in.
Yeah.
There was no regard to what kind of cables are they? What kind of microphones are we using? are we using the right power? Because there were studios and there were like systems. They were like assembly lines. They were like, so later on, like guy like David Chesky, who just was super high end with converters and all that stuff. That sort of opens up your eyes. You see him doing that, you go, well, maybe I need to pay close attention to converters and mic pre's and stuff. So that led us to buy separate mic pre's. We bought like 16 channels of API mic pre's. And you call around, you talk to different people. And now the lunch boxes are really popular.
Yeah.
These were like the first of the series of lunch boxes. Before they were lunch boxes, API made these custom for us. And then they found out that they needed a more robust power supply, because if you put phantom power on all the microphones, on all the outputs, it's just not enough power. And RCA, we were at RCA doing a session, so the mics were not quite sounding right. Things sounding dull, things falling off. It's weird. So one of the maintenance engineers got it measured and said, hey, you have phantom power. You're down like 23 volts on this 414. You need 48 volts, man, across this. So we sent it back and went back and forth a couple times, and they modified it, and the external power
custom
supply.
made.
Yeah,
custom made.
So they did. So we did a lot of R&D for them, which we never get credit for, but no one had ever purchased that many mic pre's.
Done that, yeah.
And this is before people. So we would go straight from the mics into the mic pre's, into tape, and then we bought our own cables. Because we started thinking, so I'm thinking about, well, okay, what are these guys doing on the consumer end? So let's make the signal more robust. Let's make it cleaner. Let's make it. So then we started running cables certain ways. If you can't run cables parallel to power lines, run a perpendicular, and that cuts down the hum. So much stuff. The light hashed, fluorescent. It was all these things across the board that I learned from listening and reading these crazy articles in stereophile. But it helped me become
Sound
a better
and vision.
engineer. Absolutely. Because like when you read a sound and vision.
Sound and vision magazine.
Things emerge from a pool of blackness and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, that just means that there's no noise floor. But they don't say that because they're writers, so they have to say, like pitch definition and, the leading edge of the waveform was just so precise and it had great pitch definition. And it's like, wow, all these are great buzzwords, but they actually mean something. And so you have to go back to start from the beginning, your process.
Yeah.
The microphone. Like, whenever I do something, I always go, microphone, cable. Where's this cable going to end up? In the machine? Is it going into another splitter? Is it going through a DA? Where is it going to?
Yeah.
Is it going directly into my console? So I have to think about where that signal is going.
Signal flow.
Yeah, absolutely. So then it's like, okay, if I just go away from here to the mic pre, to the tape machine, I'm doing pretty good. So I know I got a good, robust signal to tape. And then, and then you think about the monitors. What are you listening to? Back in the day, everybody had a pair of NS10s with tissue paper on them.
Yeah.
Why put the tissue paper on them? You got the speaker grills. Put the speaker grills on them. But that was a cool thing because one person does something and everybody does it. It's like, okay.
Oh, wow. That was so far ahead of my time. I didn't even know about the tissue paper. I didn't know.
But now they changed the tweet or something. But it's talking about, why are you listening to this bad reference monitors? Everybody accepted the NS10s didn't sound good. So why are you listening to speakers that don't sound good? You're trying to mix a record, man. You're not trying to throw a party. You're trying to mix a record. Because it's funny because you say, okay, well, with these speakers, you have to put the vocal back in the mix because the speakers have so much mid-range. But it's like, as you start to get fatigued, you're going to naturally want to push that vocal up. So as your mixes goes on, and you're going to make bad choices.
Yes.
Critical things are mid-range and bass because those are things that every speaker does not reproduce accurately. If you have a speaker with a neutral, good mid-range that translates well, like if I put the vocal here, I listen to it on my phone, it's here. I've listened to it in the car, it's there. So you got to have a good reference, because if you have a crappy reference, then your mix is going to be all over the place. You may get lucky and hit a good one, but then most of them are going to be inconsistent.
Guessing.
I like consistent monitoring because as the sessions go on, as the days go on, you're going to get tired. You're going to start making dumb decisions. And then other parts of your body starts to take off. As your ears start to fatigue, you start listening with your body. Oh, I need to feel more bass now. So you start to creep that bass up because your ears are starting to shut down. Oh, that mid-range. Oh, my God, I need to. Oh, or your ears are tired, so your ears start shutting. So you pulling the mid-range back.
Down,
so then you come back in and listen the next day. what the hell is that? Oh my God! It makes you depressed. Makes you want to give up the craft of engineering.
Yeah,
that's funny.
And I'm so glad you mentioned all that. That's literally all the stuff that we've been preaching about. I mean, all the stuff that we do use and the reasons why is the fatigue of like you know.
Yeah.
The goal is not to be on the same song all day. That's not the goal.
Absolutely.
That's not getting in the vibe of the. No, you're doing this as a craft that you make a living at, and the more you do it, the more you can.
Yeah, the more you should know how to better approach it.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So now, you think about all those things. I think I try to draw inspiration from everything. Like reading, the consumer magazines taught me about power supplies and regulation, and because you get like PS Audio that makes actually an AC regenerator. It takes the AC signal, regenerates it, it spits it out as clean 60 cycle 120. Those sorts of things. So you start thinking about, okay, what kind of power are we on? And then, like if a production studio, you have tech power, which is usually powered by a generator, which is great. Or you might want to go on battery power, which is great. No hums, no buzzes, no clicks. It's clean DC power. You know what I'm saying? So it's all that stuff. All that stuff goes into the craft.
Which we've talked about battery power many times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guys are on it, man. And converter technology.
Yeah.
Converter technology is great. I mean, when I first started, because I had the,
makes or break.
The pleasure of seeing that transition from analog to digital. When the first stat machines started showing up on the shores, and then the first digital machines started rolling out, the Mitsubishi, the Sony. The Sony was great, but the Sony had a poor analog section of the machine. Yeah, digital supposedly had no noise, but if you have a crappy analog section after post conversion, then because of 3324, you can put the faders up, turn it up, nothing but hiss. Say, why is this happening? So we actually contacted Sony because he did a Harry Connick record, which was just Ron Carter and piano, and it was just a rec to 1630, the U-matic Sony machine, because the early days, you guys can look this up, but the early days, they took video technology because of the bandwidth. So all the early digital machines, the 2-tracks, were U-matic tape, because all video based because of the bandwidth requirements, so they can just easily take the video technology and port that over to digital technology, because it's just ones and zeros at that point, square wave. So you had a U-matic machine, and Sony had a device with the converters and the controllers and all that stuff in it. So, but the analog section of that was noisy. So he says, why is this making noise? This should not be noisy. So we wrote Sony, and Sony's like, well, it's the analog section, and blah, 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 and then we're going to work on the next generation to be better. And it took them a while, and over the years, like we noticed about the multi-tracks. And blah, blah, blah. But it's so funny. Then you get the 48-track machine, the 3348, which is a little better sounding, but was not perfect. It's a great machine. But then you get that last machine, the 3348 HR, 24-bit. I think he did up to 90. I think it could have did 96K. I'm not sure, but it definitely did 24-bit 48K. But it was totally revised. Electronics redone, updated. The analog section was so quiet, it was scary. I did one session on that machine. But then maybe 2 months later, that machine was obsolete. At least $250,000 machine, obsolete, because by then Pro Tools had taken over.
Take it out.
So everybody was, we don't need. And the same thing happened with analog machines. Today it's hard to find a good analog machine. It's hard to find anybody that can set up an analog machine.
Sure.
And it's like, especially Adobe SR, me and Delphio, we were trying to do the Esplanade, not Esplanade, Esplanade Studio session with analog SR. Couldn't find the SR rack that was functioning. I called up Guy Charbonneau, and Guy Charbonneau, if anybody knows, ran Leitmobil for years, and he still does. It's the most pristine truck you ever been in your life. You can literally eat off the console. He follows you around with a polishing rag. I mean, he is the most meticulous engineer that you're ever going to in your life meet. If you're in California, if he's there, just call him up and go by and see the truck. Just take a field trip just to see the truck. You'll be, oh my God, it's amazing. He got out the analog game. He was analog forever.
Yeah, he sure was.
He got out the analog game. He said it's not worth it because now converter technology is good. It's not as good as, but it is good. It is great. So you're not gonna. it's not going to be that great disparity like you used to have anymore.
Yeah.
So he says, and plus the SR stuff is a pain in the butt. You have to recap them. You have to, you have to set them up. It's just a pain to do. And so everybody started letting those go by the wayside and just discarding them. You can get an analog SR rack on eBay for $1,200. This is insane.
From 120,000.
Yeah. So, right. So they're literally giving them away. And you go down certain streets. There was a picture on Instagram of a 3348 HR machine sitting out on the sidewalk. I'm like, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Just technology, man. It marches on. But but Sony fixed it at the end, and then the machine was obsolete. I was like, what a shame. I mean, that machine was amazing. That machine was amazing. That's how we used to do remote recording. We used to lug the machines around. We did some remote recording in New Orleans one time. It was a rental company in town. It was Ray and Tom. Cannot remember the last name to save my life, but they ran audio for us. Before they ran it, I think Sid Zimmett ran audio for us. And he had his own plane. And we met him when we were in Boston doing stuff. He would fly up the Mitsubishi 2-track machines for us. So he would put them on his plane. He had like a Cherokee or something and fly them up. And then we meet him at the airport and bring him to the studio. And he'd come back. Very knowledgeable guy, very nice guy. Helped us out a great deal where we were just starting,
Flying over.
Yeah, he was an amazing guy. And audio, audio had characters back then.
Wow.
Everybody was a character. And then Ray and Tom took over later on. But unfortunately, Sid was killed in a plane crash. He was out. I think it was outside of Nashville or something. Wow. And that was very sad and very shocking. And he's sorely missed. Still to this day, I think about him. Because he's just a wonderful guy, man, with incredible knowledge. And it's a shame for, him to die in an accident like that. But, then Ray and Tom took over, and they would truck the stuff down. So we had to do some recordings in New Orleans. So they drove the truck down, the 24-track machine down to New Orleans with the preamps and everything. So we was set up in Delphio's house, record something, and then we go to somebody else's house, and because it was a Marcus Roberts record. So he said, man, I like the vibe in this house, so put the drums in the bedroom, piano here, and then living room, and they would play. It's really cool. And then we go to a church and record. But we had to take that machine wherever we went, up the stairs, down the stairs. In Texas, so we did a remote recording there, the same thing. Bring that 3348 track machine down. Now, all you need is some converters, some preamps, and a laptop.
Yeah,
it's great.
A 2-rack setup.
Yeah, I know. That's great. You take that on the plane with you. That is amazing.
Hey, don't even have to check it.
Yeah.
The way.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing how technology has changed.
So did that remote recording get you started towards broadcast, or?
Well, it was a while before I got to broadcast. So we were doing all these records and stuff, just having fun. We were young, not really knowing what we were doing,
Wow.
Getting paid to mess up people's records. So just having fun because you're young, you're doing that stuff. And we had no fear. We were like, oh man, okay, we could do that. Yeah, sure, let's try it. We would just try crazy stuff. Some of it worked, some of it didn't work. But that's the thing about learning it. Yeah. And it was a great time to be in the record industry when there was still a record label and they still have the structures and everything, and you still have studios that you can go to, and it was amazing. So fast forward, I moved to Atlanta. I'm still doing records and everything. And I'm in Atlanta. And then I get to the point where Branford calls me to go on the road. He's like, I need somebody here to do sound for us. And this is right around Crazy People Music record that I recorded and mixed. So, and this is the band. It was Bob Hurst, Kenny Kirkland, Jeff Watts, and Branford. This is the band. So
the band.
The X-Men. So I go on the road, and then the first gig was Detroit Jazz Festival. Flew up, you meet the band at the airport, sitting around. I'm like, okay, cool. So we're going to go to sound check, right? He goes, no, you're going to go to sound check. We're going to go to the hotel and chill out and relax. And I go, but wait. He said, that's why you're here, so we don't have to do this anymore. So I'm like, what do you mean? Sound check. Okay. So go over to the venue. We check out the microphones. The road manager, tour manager, Roderick Ward, sets up the drum kit. And Roderick had a system. He had all the drums marked and the cases numbered and everything. So you could just set the drum kit up. Just line everything up. I was like, wow, what a great system. He's so organized. So we knew, put everything in approximate positions, just check the mic, getting relative gain, And like I'm saying, that gain station, so that's a beast, baby. And hold on for dear life. So, they come out and it's like, Branford gets on the mic, blah, 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 blah. Play a first song. And that moment right before that first song, it's like so long. It's like, take that breath, and then they start playing, and then you just immediately freeze for a second to try and take everything in, and then you start just moving really fast. Turning that mic, freeze, pulling out faders, doing this and stuff, and then hopefully by the end of that first song, everything locks into focus. Now, as you do more and more of these gigs, you start to learn. You start to learn relative gain. You start to learn, if I talk into the microphone and it's hitting here, then I know when Branford plays, it's going to be like, so I got to turn it down, 6 to 10 dB or whatever the case may be. So you start to learn, but it's a great learning experience. But every time, no matter what the venue, that first song scared the crap out of you, which is so good. Because it's like jumping out of a plane, So when you jump out of a plane, it's like that first, I never jumped out of a plane, but I've talked to people who have jumped out of a plane. It's like you're just floating. You're just floating into nothingness because you have no reference. And that's the way it is mixing. You have no reference. You have no level reference. You have nothing. You have no idea how loud the PA is going to be.
Yep.
You have no idea what the feedback frequencies are because you don't have those instruments there to excite those frequencies. So you have to do all this stuff at the same time. You look at the graphic EQ. You're like, And I remember first time, first I would not touch the graphic EQ because I didn't want to do too much. So you start getting in the other areas. It's like, oh, this is just too much. And I don't want to start messing up the system, But you have to.
You have to, exactly.
I was in Japan with Kenny Garrett. He's playing saxophone, plays a no note, plays like a G. Like, woo, and it starts to take off. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Let's just turn him down. So I like that to happen. Maybe he goes, hey man, you hear that note, that frequency? Oh yeah, I hear the frequency. I was like, okay, I got it. Okay, what note was that? That was a G. So I was like, hey, so you have to figure out the frequency just by using the musical notes and everything. That's why it's good to have musical training.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, so you go there, I notch that out. It's like, okay, so it worked. So, but then you learn, and then you learn what you can do, can't do, and then systems back then were like they are today. I mean, they're so sophisticated.
Yeah.
You got RTA analyzer in your laptop. You just put that microphone out there. You're looking at things. You're like, okay, wow, that frequency's kind of high. Let's just reach over there. So it's just so. But back then, it was by the seat of your pants and by your ear. And if you had a great system tech, then that's more than cool.
Yeah.
And I remember I posted this on my Facebook page about the greatest system ever. It was just the Grateful Dead's Wall of Sound system.
Oh yeah.
I actually mixed on that system. I didn't put that in the thing because I was like, I don't like people that go over the top and brag. Things on Facebook.
No.
But I was like, first I put I actually had the privilege of mixing on the system. It was an amazing system. It felt like you were mixing on a small studio setup.
Really?
It just and it had so much power, but it wasn't ugly power. It wasn't distorted power. It was just clean power. Yeah. Yeah, it was an amazing system.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a great experience. So then Branford's on the road doing whatever. And then in between that time, started doing I met where Branford would play on the scores or soundtracks for Spike Lee's movies. So then we started recording the scores for Spike Lee's movies. I did Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, and Jungle Fever, and I think the opening song for Crooklyn. I think it was Crooklyn. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, pretty, so
because it was all jazz music.
Yeah. It had a nice arrangement. So
and Mo Better Blues was just that was amazing. We got to do so much, and there's so much music on that.
I mean,
and that was another whole set of things, a whole nother set of disciplines you had to learn.
That you like
because then you were mixing.
Did you track anything live for that, or it was a lot of everything was studio?
It was all in the studio, but everybody in the room at the same time. It was the band, basically it's Branford's band, and of course some more people like Donald Harrison, plus An orchestra.
Yeah, a lot of string
And then with
work.
Jungle Fever, it was the Boys Choir of Harlem, and then with an orchestra and a band, So it was all these elements, so it's just to get piled on. So you used to learn how to deal with and juggle that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the live stuff taught me about gain staging, helped me set up for that. So you take those experiences from the road, and you can always cross-apply them to your studio.
Exactly.
stuff,
It gives your workflow.
Yeah,
it gets your
absolutely.
workflow quicker, I feel, when you used to live.
Absolutely. Because you have to get it done like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So going
And
back
gain is gain.
Yeah.
Right? Anywhere you go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Look at the meter. It's like, okay, it's hitting here. Okay.
Hitting
right
here.
there. That's right. Huh? Yeah, right. Absolutely. That is fun.
Yeah. So from that, so that gets you into the movie world.
Yeah, so right.
Wow.
So that was cool, and then you're learning how to mix with SR, Dolby SR surround, analog surrounds, not discrete surround. It was like matrix surround. So you had to pan things a certain way because it recognized, phase differences, and it selectively put things in the rear that you may not have wanted to go in the rear because it wasn't just like strings. It was strings with ride cymbals and horns and percussive stuff. So you have to be very careful how you mix that sort of thing. So you have to work with Dolby consultants and all that stuff, how to mix it. Now everything's discrete.
Yeah.
So it's like, now, but back then, mixing in the matrix like that was pretty daunting thing. And mixing to a level too, because you set the speakers up to the 85 dB reference level. You don't touch it, you just mix.
Yeah.
And I like loud. I like mixing loud. I like to feel it. I like to feel the pulse of the sound going through my body.
Yeah.
But it's only for brief intervals. But I
Yeah.
like being able to crank it up and then print it down. But I primarily like mix. First one and then when Branford took over the Tonight Show band leader, he wanted to bring me out, but they couldn't bring me out because NBC had their own engineers, they had their own way of doing things. So they said, no, you'll be fine. So I was out in L.A. finishing up Branford's record. I Heard You Twice the first time, and it was a blues record, primarily a blues record, a blues jazz record, I say. So I was finishing that record up, and so they're doing Tonight Show, and they're rehearsing. They're doing test shows and all that stuff. So Branford heard one of the test shows, and he's like, "Okay, this does not sound good. I'm not going to stay here on this show if it sounds like this, because what's the point of me playing on the show? And if it sounds like this, I can't do it." So, of course, some more choice words. And so then his tour manager, Roger Ward, comes over to the studio. We're mixing his record. He goes, "Hey, man, we need you to come to NBC tomorrow, see what's going on." So I come over there. And and then, it was just one of those things where it was not bad, but it was just like one of those things, just getting used to a new band and, not having enough time to do it and all kinds of other factors that played in. And, and then we're used to Doc Severance's band where it was all on one side, Soundcraft console, and it was a one fader. And guys solo, they walk up to the mic, they sit down. So Branford switching instruments. They got Vicky Randall singing stuff, singing hand mic, singing headset, Jeff singing. They got different keyboards. They had all these elements that had to go on, but they didn't have anybody paying attention to the house band because they didn't have a dedicated person to mix the house band. Yeah. So the guy will open the fader, and then Branford's playing this and Vicky singing, but you don't hear them. It's like, oh, so it's not enough time to mix broadcast and mix a house band.
Yeah.
So you just can't do it. Especially a modern band, that switches instruments, that double stuff, that, that plays different styles. So you got to have a different fader configuration for that. So I came in, I was like, hey. And there was a guy named Brian Bell. It was a technical guy, a very technical guy, brilliant engineer. A brilliant engineer. He's one of those guys, that can see things down to the subatomic level. He knows what the molecules are doing, in the copper. One of those super smart guys. Okay. Right. A physicist, So him and Roger Nichols, same way, right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, they see beyond just the sound. They see into the... So working with him, decided to set up a separate control room just for the house band. So that's how I was able to get into broadcasting. Never really did broadcasting before. Only visited shows with bands and stuff and sat in the control room. It's always different, But then you start to learn. And then the people would challenge me because the production room's huge console. You look at the patch bay, it's literally the size of that wall, and it's filled with patch cords. And it's like, wow, that's awesome. Wow. First, I didn't even look at it. I was like, I don't even know what that is. And then various people will come in and say, hey, man, would you be able to mix your show if it was a pinch, if in a pinch? And I'll go, yeah. That's my ego talking. But in reality, I'm like, no, I can't do that. I know nothing about broadcast. I don't know any of the terminology. It's a whole different discipline, a whole different world, So slowly but surely, I would go in the room and ask questions and stuff and come out of my shell, and start to learn how to mix broadcast. And people would, tell me how to mix broadcast or explain to me and show me and stuff. You would listen. It's like you go home and listen, and it's like, wow, it's very interesting. And back then, most of the components were all analog, so. Every network had their own philosophy of how it should sound. ABC had a philosophy. NBC had a philosophy. CBS had a philosophy. And some networks sounded better than others. But now everything's digital. Everything gets uploaded digitally. Everything is delivered digitally. Everything, the whole chain is digital. Now everything sounds fairly even across the board. Uniform, But back then, it was a task. You have to always call up the guy in transmission. What's going on? Oh, my God, I forgot I turned up the gain a little bit more or turned it down because I was making a transfer. But so it was like, everything went through analog consoles. So the guy could have more EQ on it or not put the EQ in or have the panning to the center. When I want to watch the show, it was in mono. I go, how's the show in mono? I'm not mixing. Oh, sorry, I had to do something earlier that day. It's like one of those things. So it was at the whim of whatever. If you had a guy that was really into it and was paying attention, then that's cool. But sometimes, people don't pay attention in transmission. They see the picture, they see the meters. Okay, that's cool. We can go back to reading my book or talking on the phone, doing whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, that does happen from time to time, But it's so much better than what it used to be. So then, and then eventually I got it to the point where I would fill in. From time to time, mix production. It still was scary because it was like, it was exciting, but it was scary because it was different. Yeah. You can't mix production the way you mix music. You can't push certain elements the way you want to. You can't have everything clean because on TV, it's got to be dirty because you see the information now, not necessarily hear it. Yeah. When you're mixing, you can kind of do a fast crossfade from one thing to another. But if the audience is clapping and you do that crossfade too fast, you're going to see people clapping and not hear it.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you got to ease into things and crossfade them a little bit more gently and stuff. And so I got into that, and then later I became the head mixer at the Tonight Show. But that patch bay, one day I went in the room, and I called my wife. I said, hey, I'm not going to be home tonight. I'll see you probably tomorrow at some point. I went in and pulled every single patch bay out of that patch bay panel and put them in one by one. That's the only way you can learn.
Yes, manually.
Yes, the only way I could learn. And after that, I knew all I knew I needed to know about broadcasting. It's like when Quincy Jones goes to Paris. I know this is off the track. I'm crazy like this. But, when Quincy Jones went to Paris to study with Nadia Boulanger, she said, go transcribe Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. When you do that, you will know everything you need to know. So that was my Rite of Spring. Pull all the patch bays out, let them all hit the floor, and then you got to patch it in. Because guess what? Monday they're coming in to have to do a show. So you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it the right way.
Yep.
So and I had a pad and I wrote down everything. I said, this goes, and I discovered some things that didn't make any sense. I was like, wow, this should be going to a DA instead of a mult. You should be doing this. You should be, so I was like, okay, so you learn. So you learn over the time. So exactly. then we switched studios and all that stuff. And I had the ability to build a studio, to design a studio, design a control room, all from scratch on, just things that I wanted, which was a really good control room. But I also designed it in a way that I could actually mix records after work.
That's smart.
Yeah, so we had a Studer system. I think it was a system 8 or a system 9. console was the first big Studer they had, but it was a great sounding console. Studer's always had great sounding components.
Yeah.
So I set it up so I can mix records. So I mixed up quite a few records. I'm not gonna say which ones, but I didn't. I mixed quite a few records there.
Hey.
Because after the show, you didn't want to go to the studio, so I was like, hey, I'll just stay here and mix the record. And then another studio I always used, and when I was in LA, was Glenwood Place Studios. That was like our home. It's great. It's like a private studio. You won't see it on the internet. You won't see it. They don't have an Instagram page. They're not posting stuff. It was just a great studio, and the kid Reba is like a great friend of mine. So that's another place he always used, and that's why I said when I walk in here, I said this place feels like home already. Instantly, that's the way Glenwood Place feels. Wow,
thank you.
There's very few studios feel like that because most studios are sterile and just very corporate or just very whatever. You walk in a studio, you want to be able to relax.
Yeah,
you just feel like you're at home.
Yeah,
that way you can think about the work, not
creatively,
like,
right?
This is
You
get the creating.
Yeah,
and then that
crappy lighting and yeah.
So then I started mixing Tonight shows. Mixed 3,000 of those shows. All the various bands and everybody that would show up and everything. It was fun. It was fun. It was a great experience.
So when did you take over there as head?
That would have been 2000 something. 2001, 2002, something like that.
All right, you had a good run though, man.
It was a great run. I learned so much.
Wow.
You learn how to do VOs. You learn how to edit. You know how to edit in a hurry, not edit at a leisure. We need this VO turned around right now.
Yeah.
It's like, Jay will come in and do some stuff and you have to get it on the show that's about to start in 20 minutes. You have to get it to editing, So those are fun things. Or mixing tape pieces or tape packages. Because we would do all these elaborate pieces. Like the Marvel movies are out. Well, we would do spoofs of that. But they would have the sound effects. They would have all this stuff and all the action in it. So you had to mix it, and the writers wanted it like a real movie. So you're in there mixing bomb sounds and adding bomb sounds and doing all this great
sound
stuff.
design.
And so that was fun. Sound design is amazing. So that makes
so you got to do the Leno thing and mix records. So you never had a lull where you had to choose one.
No. I never thought you should be able to choose. I mean, that just goes to your skill set. Like some people, I would never mix broadcasts. I saw it as a challenge.
Yeah.
I just saw it as another thing to do.
Learning curve too,
and then
right?
you can take, like I'm saying, you can take some of those things you do in record recording and port it over to broadcast mixing. Like for instance, like audience mics. Everybody always, this mic doesn't really matter. Just throw some mics out there. They have like a SM57, 416.
Really?
You have like a couple of
57 is
Sheps.
an audience mic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's audience mic. So you just throw up whatever you had, whatever's left over, put them in the audience. And then I started thinking about it one day. I said, you should mic the audience like an orchestra, like you will the string sections. Because another thing is, when you have music in the room, you have all those crappy mics up there. Well, they're going to sound crappy. Right. And the leak is going to sound crappy because those mics have horrible off-axis responses. So what you want to get is a higher quality microphone. So you can mic basically the room with the audience in the room. So the room becomes a part of the sound.
Yeah.
You can't separate the two.
Create the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get more of a live experience, like you're actually there if you're watching at home.
What would you usually use?
Like a KMR 81s, Normans. I used DPA audience mics. Sheps.
Good condenser or ribbon, right?
Yeah. So you use high end microphones in audience.
Which you should use high end microphones.
People look at you and go, why are you using all those expensive microphones in the audience for? It's like, well, because I want the audience to sound good and the music to sound good. And when you put the audience up with the band, if you use a lot of microphones, varying types, manufacturers, you're going to get all this phase shifting. You're going to get poor off-axis response. It's going to sound like crap. So you try and blend the audience in? Oh, my God, you can't. Yeah. It's like one or the other. It's hard to do that. And then the band sounds sterile. Yeah. The band doesn't sound like it's even actually in a room. It just sounds like it's by itself. So it sounds canned. So it's like, you want to have that room. So that's something I was able to use, and it's just using high end microphones. Yeah. And also, by doing the live stuff, knowing how PA interacts with your production elements. Like I was saying earlier, there's a great PA mixer I work with on American Idol. A lot of great PA mixers I work with. But recently on doing American Idol. Mike Parker, who gets it, who gets that, well, I'm mixing for these people in the audience, but Patrick's mixing for the millions of people at home. So you need to be able to make him comfortable. And there has to be speakers all over the place. And it has to be loud volumes because you have screaming girls and it's like all this stuff. But you have to get it to a point where you can actually, it should be a balance. And that's why gang staging is so important because if you're using too much gain on a desk mic, it's sucking in too much room and you're constantly fighting. But if you get it to a point where everything's balanced right, you put those faders at 0, you put everything at 0, and it's gonna sound a little bit roomier because you have a lot more room, but it's gonna sound like it's balanced. It's
consistent.
Gonna sound like nothing's fighting each other to get all on top of have to fight these other elements to get things on top of the mix. It's that magic. I'm pretty sure you've done live gigs where you just sit back and go, oh my God, that sounds so good.
There it is.
You know what I'm saying? It just makes you feel good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely when my game structure is on point.
Absolutely.
That's the only time you feel that euphoria in mixing.
And also, like we saw that earlier, when people come backstage and go, my God, that sounded so amazing.
Exactly.
So you go,
my favorite. This is the best I've ever heard. This room.
Absolutely. I like it when you show up and people go, man, this is a bad sounding venue. I don't know how you guys gonna get a good sound after the night. Then they come back and go, oh my God, what did you do? That was so amazing. Like,
exactly.
I'm fella, baby.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So when Leno ended, what did you do, or did you already have something?
Well, I had a couple of things.
It was known, right?
Right after that, I got a call from Mike Abbott, who's a great broadcast engineer, and he asked me what I wanted to do, and he said, "Okay, he'll keep me in mind if something comes up." Blah blah blah. So I go, "Okay, sure." Then like 2 days later, he calls me and says, "Hey man, they need somebody over at American Idol." So then I said, okay, cool. I'll go over there and check it out and see what's happening. So I went over there, and that's when I reconnected with Harry Connick, and then it was subsequently led me to moving out here because he got a show. But I did the last 2 years on Idol, and that was live TV.
Yeah,
that's no net. See, Leno was live to tape.
Yeah,
so you kind of mess up or have a bad day, or but not when it's live. And the first show I did, I made a mistake. I would go to commercial break. I would pull down the master fader to fade out the black. So I just pull down the master fader, put it back up. But this time I forgot to put it back up. So we come out of break. I fade up everything. Mouse are moving, but you hear no sound. So I'm like, oh my God, you're panicking. I'm like, okay, I know I did everything right because you have that little checklist. Faders are up, volume's up, C meters moving. No, meters aren't moving. What's going on? So I was like, oh, master fader. So it only took like a second, but that was like, oh my God.
Yeah, but you had 100 thoughts in
your head.
2.5 seconds.
Oh yeah,
so
it's like the list.
So you're a human computer at that point when you're like trying to get
Never made that mistake again, but it was good to make it the first time because then you get a little, because the problem was, I tell the truth, it's getting a little cocky and arrogant. I'm mixing the show. I'm like, oh, this is sounding good, man. Oh, yeah, I'm in the groove now. Then you make a mistake. It's like, okay, beat down,
Pay attention.
Yeah.
So, that moved you, that show, the Harry Connick Jr. show, moved you out here to New York. Mm-hmm. So, what are you into now?
Yeah, just doing records and stuff, doing TV shows.
Okay,
like I did Showtime. I did
show?
Showtime at the Apollo.
Oh,
I was able to do stuff for the U.S. Open at tennis. Went back to L.A., did Idol, went on the road and did Idol, all the auditions and stuff.
Okay.
That was fun.
Auditions.
Yes.
So what's that?
Oh, that is fun. that is like all day long. That is like, you get in, say 7 o'clock. You set up and they go right away because you if you ever watch the show, you see literally hundreds of people sitting outside, and all these people had to come in and all get their time. So, and it's like a setup because all that stuff is going to be edited and remixed and in post later on. So your job is to just get a good clean signal. Before I didn't go on the road to scout the locations. So you show up in a place and it could be next to like the motor room, or they can have elevator noise or traffic noise. Right. So they asked me last season, because you come on the scouting locations. That way you can flag anything that's wrong audio-wise immediately and say, hey, I have an issue with this because it's near a thoroughfare, or it's too much AC noise, or the roof is made out of plastic, and if it rains, it's going to be horrific. Those sorts of things that makes it a lot easier. And I'm gonna go with my sound meter and take relative sound levels and stuff, especially if it was noisy, if it's too close to a highway or something, or if it was like close to a waterway. We were in Seattle, and there was a waterway. And it was just nothing but tugboats going up it. It's like, no, we can't do that. So no place is perfect, because you're not doing it in the studios. You're doing it in those locations. I mean, we did the Muhammad Ali Museum, which was close to a highway. So every now and then you get like a fire truck or an ambulance going down the street. So that sort of thing I'd already flagged, so everybody knew about that. They said, okay, we'll just take a little pause there for let the fire truck pass by. Okay, now continue. And then those kinds of things. So when we show up at the venues, no one's surprised. It's like, well, we didn't know this, Or then you have to ask the right questions. Like, any activities going on at that time? Is there a concert going on here? What is the street activities going on? Absolutely.
Festival.
Could you turn your AC off to hear what the room actually sounds like? Because the AC, some buildings, if it's not a studio, so they don't have a HVAC system that's designed to be in the studio and then control the sound control environment. So a lot of the stuff is just just turn the AC off, and it's like brrr. And it's like, oh my God, it's deafening, it's so quiet. It's like, okay. So you get a lot of, if you do hotel convention centers, that sort of thing, the AC noise is just awful. It's like, that. So the setup is, you live everybody that comes in. We have we have lives for the judges, and we have like a rotation of like 10 lives. So we line them up 10 deep, live everybody. And then, of course, some of them have guitars that need to be live, and some of them have people that would accompany them on guitars. Then we have a piano, so we have to mic all that stuff to be sure everything gets covered. So sometimes you have like the guitars, it's my favorite guitar, but they've never played, and then they want to use the DI, but the battery's corroded inside the guitar. So that's just those kind of things, because they used to playing at home on their couch, not thinking about it. Or you also, and what we will use is a boom microphone. It used to be exclusively the boom microphone. But yes, this year, since I'm using the DPA 4060s and 4061s, those microphones sound great. Even if you have a guitar, you're playing, you're singing, it just sounds amazing. It sounds consistent. So I thought, especially if we were like in acoustically challenged venues, to try to use the boom mic to get that, you just suck it in all that room noise and it's like the space of the room. So I thought, well, just be careful and more meticulous how we mic the people, so we can actually use the live mic throughout the entire process, from the interview to the music performance, straight out, because the DPA 4061s just sound so great, And then, you let the guitar leak. So sometimes what would happen is the guitar playing would be a lot louder than the singing. Like they would be killing the guitar and barely singing. It's like, how can you even physically do that? I don't understand that.
I know. Right?
Yeah, right. It's like, how can you play loud and sing soft? That makes any sense. So that's the only issue.
And when you mic'd them, was it a clip or did you do body miking?
Clip and body. They have like a kit, so the A2s are great, so they know how.
You do
but
both?
we primarily just mic them with a clip. And then sometimes, if it's like a ukulele or something with a lower acoustic output, we'll have a DI for that ukulele, or we'll put the mic on the ukulele. Like we'll just take the clip off, tape it, and slide it right through the strings, and it always sounds great, And the DPA microphones are great. We have like a little small Calrec Suma console. I bring my my Sennheiser HD 600s, to listen to, because you can't have speakers. Because you're always on the same set as everyone else, so you can't make any noise.
So you have like it's like a little mobile system.
Yeah, it's like a Suma, the Calrec Suma. Yeah. So we have hydro boxes, that everything's connected via MADI. So that's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Digital.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Digital. This is great sounding console.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
and then we record everything in the multi-track, directly to the XD machines, which is the cameras directly attached to a camera. So we have 8 channels for each machine, and then we have multi-track, and then we have a redundant multi-track just in case.
Yeah.
Because the post guys like to take the multi-track. They used to take the audio off the multi-track.
What do you use, Pro Tools?
Yeah, Pro Tools.
Pro Tools.
And also use they use
and
the
you're
window.
recording the 10 at the time, the whole time?
Yeah, everything gets recorded at the same time.
So they're like going out there separate and but mic'd up. And,
absolutely. Everybody gets recorded at all times. Yeah. Because sometimes something happen outside where there'll be a camera outside, but we won't know that. And then we can use that audio, which has saved us a lot, Especially when the condensers are mad, they go off or something. And like there's no E&G crew around. Because there are a lot of E&G crews that's floating around also. Yeah. So now I'm thinking all that stuff has to be frequency coordinated too. And then we're like, in this era now we have diminishing bandwidth that, we have to play with. So it's like, yikes, the spectrum's shrinking. Yeah, I know. So we have all these people, we have all these microphones. So, and we use a company called Soundtronics from LA, and they do an amazing job, but because that's problematic now. I know you run into it. It all depends on what city in the venue.
I used to work for RF company. So I
cool.
knew 6 years ago how bad it was. So now
that's
it was
great.
the one that Claire had taken over.
Oh,
that was
okay.
At Mount Vernon. They
cool.
took over wireless first.
Right.
But they would do stuff out in LA too. They went out there and became Claire Global or Claire Broadcast. I'm not even sure if it's still going. But yeah, like just the in-depth knowledge on that is just
that's cool. That gives you another weapon to use on the road. That's right.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, but now I see that it's shrinking even more with 5G. I mean, that was 4G knocking us out.
Yeah, right now 5G.
Like 8-10 years ago. Now,
That's a shame.
I mean, we have to create a whole nother technology to get wireless back.
I know, man.
But that's how we create when we forced.
Well, absolutely. That's right.
I'm sure we'll be like,
forced to
now.
In the corner, now you have to innovate.
Exactly. We will innovate here. So, so you just kind of freelancing it and are you gonna start up American Idol?
Yes.
And when does that start?
Well, we're gonna start scouting locations soon, and then we start in the fall.
You guys go pretty quick. It's
absolutely.
Do you guys do 2 seasons a year? Or
no, it's one season a year. One
like
massive season.
Oh, it's just
because
really
it starts, with the audition phase, then it moves to like the studio phase, then we do a duet show, then they do a travel show, they do all kinds of shows, and then they end up at the live studio show.
Yeah.
Which is live,
Wow,
which is fun.
That's quite a bit of work for that.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of technology. Lots of travel.
Lots of travel.
This is cool.
And because I would notice how they would pick stories, and I'm like, how would they know to?
That's a lot.
So I was trying to figure that out. So now that you just mic everybody. Every 10, and as they finish, you take off and then bump it down to the next.
And we keep a mic for a certain number of time. Like when they post performance, they walk out and then they have like a debriefing interview and all that stuff. So we leave a mic for a while because the E&G guys have redundant receivers. So they can pick up their lives when they need to and follow them around. And then we unmic them. And then they agree, okay, they're finished. Now unmic them. Now take those mics back. So we either have people running around, grabbing mics, picking them up, and swinging.
And how long have they been doing that? Have you been doing the 10?
Well, yeah. Let's see. Well, I did it last year. It's pretty much.
That's kind of new, right?
Not really. That's pretty much the way we've always done it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, we may have better coordination with it now.
Yeah. It's way more tugging at the heartstrings.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, those backstories.
That's like a whole nother content.
The backstories make the show. Because a lot of stuff we don't know until I see it at home. Like I'm sitting there watching it at home. I'm going, I did not know that about him. I'm like, oh my God, that's so sad. Oh my God, that's amazing. And you don't know these stories until you get home and you watch it.
I mean, that's giving props to the producers of just seeing those stories and then knowing having to sift through to tell that story.
I do not envy that task at all. I do not envy that at all. That's a lot of footage, a lot of audio.
Oh God, a lot of key sentences that you want to hear and
absolutely.
all that kind of thing. Like, wow, props to the whole team on that one.
Right.
That's still an amazing thing to come rolling out with a console and then just recording.
And we set up like that.
24. I mean, and that's probably a 15-hour day of
absolutely.
I mean.
Yeah, we take it up to 48 because we had to have a mic on the piano. We have the piano. We have guitars. We have a guitar amp. We have the judge and stuff. We have, and then you're sending feeds out from the console because you're also mixing the monitors for the people to hear and the judges to hear and all kinds of stuff like that, And it's, and it's a lot. But once you get the first one done, then it's pretty much, you're just setting up and just checking stuff to make sure it all operates correctly. But that first venue, it's like, what are we in for now?
Yeah. So besides just Ray Chu, does he do Ray Chu is the musical?
No, it used to be Ricky Minor.
Ricky Minor.
It was Ricky Minor. Now we have, oh my God, it's Katy Perry's music director. I cannot remember his name. He's from Detroit, though.
Oh, all right. I
said, it'll come to me in a second.
Yeah.
Just hold on. I don't think I took all my vitamins this morning. So,
no, but man,
but it's great. All the bands, all the musicians are exceptional
in that show. Yeah, definitely. Backup singers, everything. So.
Yeah, and I knew Ricky Minor because I worked with him on Tonight Show because he took over from it was Branford, then Kevin Eubanks, then Ricky Minor. Ricky Minor was the last guy. Sure what a great band. Great group of guys, cast of characters.
Wow,
great band.
Holy cow, Patrick.
All those Tonight Show bands, they're just characters. Just had great personalities.
Man, you've had quite the career.
I've been very blessed. I've been very blessed, and it was come from Knoxville, Tennessee, to do all I've done. It was amazing. It was an amazing journey.
Living a dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, wow, you've mixed everybody you could have possibly ever wanted to mix. I mean,
met everybody.
I mean, American Idol, Tonight Show, that's everybody. I mean,
that's
on the come up and there.
Yeah, right.
right. So, wow, Patrick,
yes.
wow, that's what we all aspire to, and. Thank you so much.
No, you guys are doing it too. I love having a conversation, man. You guys are doing fantastic work.
Thank you.
Plus, working with Kristen McBride. It was this amazing musician. Just an amazing human being.
Yes, he is. That's I say.
And that's a blessing to find somebody like that.
Wow.
It's a blessing that he found you. Also, somebody that's so enthusiastic about working with him, and you guys are just amazing.
Yeah,
thank you.
Hey, and then meeting up with guys like you just I see you keeping on creating, and you're not
absolutely.
just I use this one thing, and
I can never be that.
Yeah, I can never be that. Like I have to grow this and to keep. Learning.
Absolutely.
And dealing with jazz and the acoustics. It's just
absolutely
just amazing, and the fact that you get to do it with just everything with American Idol and the broadcast
right, and use the lessons that I've learned from all of that stuff goes all into that. Wow.
Which makes sense.
You learn stuff from everything you do. You learn stuff. I learned stuff from the Harry Show that I can apply to Idol next year. And you know what I'm saying? It's always reading stuff and thinking about stuff. And like I was talking about Tony Faulkner and the Faulkner Array earlier today. Look that up, boys and girls. So just recording classical music in rooms, and you just learn from so much and listen to everything. That's my advice to everybody. Listen to everything.
Exactly.
Something can be. And I recently, when I was in LA. Somebody played me Michael Jackson's isolated vocal track from Thriller. It is the most amazing thing you've ever want to hear in your life. And at first, it gives me a whole nother level of respect for Michael Jackson because his vocal track is amazing. The singing, his phrasing, his breathing, his mechanics of singing is just amazing. And then it made me realize so much work goes into whatever you do, and then sometimes, like if you hear the song you don't hear all of that. If you hear it by itself, you hear all that.
Exactly.
So to me, that just says work on your craft all the time,
and that was to tape.
Constantly get better. That was the tape. No Pro Tools, no punching. It was just like, wow. Just straight through. And Michael Jackson was old school. You had to sing the song.
Yeah.
You had to sing a line, then take a break, and oh my God, can you tune that up for me? No.
Yeah.
You got to sing, baby.
Woo.
Sing. You know,
Goodness
and we're fortunate
gracious.
enough to work with great musicians. You
Yes.
know? That's the great thing, you know. Where it's not like they're so dependent on the technology that it's not even fun. It's just you hit buttons and, okay, I'm going to just go through the motions and do this and get them over with. You get to see magic created on stage every night.
Yes.
And some nights it won't be hitting. Some nights it'll be like, that wasn't too hit. But some nights, oh my God, when it clicks, it's like,
ooh.
You were in awe. I mean, I was watching, Branford Marsalis in that band in awe.
Yeah.
Literally in awe. I was just all, and you think back on it, it's like, wow, I witnessed that. I saw that. I was there for that,
You recorded it.
Yeah, right. It's such a privilege and a blessing
your hand on
to
it.
do that and to learn those lessons from those great people, just the interaction of those musicians and just coming in contact with them.
And they respect what you do, and it's just a mutual meeting of the minds to creatively make the best project possible.
Absolutely. That's because at the end of the day, I am in the service industry.
Exactly.
I am here to serve you good sound.
Yes.
To facilitate whatever your dream, your vision is. I'm here to help you facilitate that. That's the way I look at it. Like some people get upset when I hear young engineers, well, he asked for this, he didn't want it that. It was like, that's your job, man.
Yeah.
You're here, you're taking the orders. You're like, okay, I want some of this, I want some of that. Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna go back and make it for you and bring it back to you and see how you like it.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Using those tools that you do have in front of you, whatever that is, whether it's 2-track, 1-track.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right.
To 500.
Right, absolutely.
You taking care of it and making sure that game structure is tight and getting the best possible product.
Right.
Everything you're saying is what we constantly talk about.
Well, cool,
and
man.
So glad to have you on.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here.
Wow, we could stay here another 3 hours.
I know. Tomorrow. Right, he's shutting the lights off.
But that's the good thing, people.
That's the great
about
thing
having
about
your own studio. We can stay here another 3 hours.
Right, absolutely.
So true, so true.
And now that we know that you live so close, we will have you here another 4 to 5 hours at
come
least.
back anytime. Don't worry about it. Absolutely.
Yes. So, thank you again, Patrick.
You're so welcome.
Wow. This was everything.
Thank you guys so much for having me here.
So much fun.
Yes, it was fun.
Inspiring, exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Again, thank you, Patrick. And from Dennis and myself, thank you for listening to The Art of Music Tech. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Can't say iTunes anymore. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean. Wow. Follow us on IG, Facebook. Oh, Patrick, do you have a website or something?
Yes, I'm on Instagram.
Get in touch with you?
I'm on Facebook as Patrick Smith, and I'm on LinkedIn as Patrick Smith also. But Instagram is Pimp Tech, all lowercase PIMPTECH, Pimp Tech.
All right, get in touch with the OG Pimp Tech.
That's right.
Patrick Smith, again, thank you so much for coming on. And let's go, people.
Let's go.
That's right.
For more information of booking 23DB Productions, visit their website at 23dbproductions.com. Like and follow 23DB Productions at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter for the latest work.